Hi, I wanted to share with you how I would paint some pine boughs for a card, and I'm going to start with some yellow ochre. And then I'm going to spray that with some water. I like yellow ochre, it gives it a neutral, natural type look. And it's just going to go all over. It's my base color, I guess is a good way, and it's basically a wash. And then I'm just gonna soak up some of the water. So the pigment's still on there, but it's just not wet. I don't want it to move anymore, so I dabbed it up. Okay, now I can go in with some brown, and here's some dark brown. I'm gonna put it on my little palette. This is I really like this palette actually. And here's my brown. And I'm going to be very loose and expressive. I'm just adding in kind of the form of where I want my pine boughs to go. Like it's just a start, and then probably I have it so I could cut this in half and make 2 card panels, or if I like it I'll just trim up a little bit and put a sentiment right here. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. We'll see how it goes. Okay, and now that I have that, I'm going to take just some water and I'm going to just start adding a little bit of brush work to each pine bough. And I know that because this is going to be wet, it's going to be very loose, and I'm okay with that. And I'm going to start with a lighter green, so I'm thinking maybe an emerald green to start with. It's not going to be emerald green when I get done with it, but I just want it to, what I'm really doing is I just want to get kind of green put down so I kind of know where I'm going with it. Now that I have, and it's catching on some of the water, so now I'm going to dab my brush so it's just damp, it's not juicy by any means, and I can go in and I can create all these little pine needles, and it's still giving that beautiful texture that the Brusho gives you, but I'm not, I'm letting it really do most of the work. And then when we, actually I'm just gonna have that to be one bough, yeah, like that. And I don't want to cover very much, because I know when I get the darker stuff on, it will grow. So I'm trying to be very strategic, and wherever I see extra blue or this green, emerald green, I'm just gonna kind of add that. My plan is to just kind of have this border of pine boughs, anyways, and see what happens. And I'm just flicking my brush whichever way. So my brush handling, I think it's important to note that my brush, if I want a wispy, nice little line, I'm holding it almost straight up and down to the paper. And I think that really helps. And even where there's not, I'm really just doodling or drawing with water. If I don't like it, it can just dry and no harm done. And that's really what it is, what I'm doing. And then I also like to just kind of wait. I could spray just a tiny, I'm holding my spray bottle up really high just to wet that, just to activate it, see where the Brusho is. Now I can go back and just kind of give it some more depth. Really the brown is just my guiding point. I I think this is going to look really cool. This is going to be a really pretty card, I can tell. And I have such beautiful sentiments, and I actually have designed my own set of Christmas sentiments for Blue Night stamps, and so I always love being able to use my work, my sentiments that I designed for cards. I'm really liking that. Okay, I'm going to kind of leave that alone, and I'm going to turn this around and kind of get that same feeling over here to be over here. So I'm going to, again, doodle. We're not drawing because drawing requires more, oh, I don't know. I want to say more handiwork, but I don't know if that's really what it is. It just requires more brain power, and I like to doodle. And I think with brushes are very loose anyways. You might as well call it what it is, and it's doodling. But I'm doodling with just clear water, and that's really fun. Again, I'm going to take this emerald green. Now we are not done. We're going to use like 3 layers. And then that's probably enough on here. And then it's very much like a leap of faith. You just have to realize that there is Brusho on the paper. And if you need to, you can always put some on your palette and then get your brush. But you just want to be very careful that you're not painting. This is the lightest value, so we don't want it to be very dark. We want it to be very loose, and maybe this one's just going off in the distance, something like that. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing, clean water, dab it a little bit because we're just trying to get the feel of pine needles. Like, my goal here is to not be realistic. If I wanted to be realistic, I would have a like a reference photo, and I would really be looking at the way the pine needles are going. And you can, and I've studied enough pine needles to know kind of where I want the shapes to go and the lengths to go, so I don't feel like I would have to. Okay, and I can already tell that that is and it's just a little flicking motion, and it's okay that you're not catching all the Brusho at first because, like I said, this is our first layer. And I don't think it has to take very long, and I don't want it, I want to be able to have a spot for a sentiment, so maybe I would, if I wanted to, I don't know yet how I want to crop my picture, so I really just want it to be loose. My hope is that I can get 2 card panels out of this. If you have a, and so that's my hope, is that we can get 2 card panels. Okay, now I think we're back. We can rotate it again. And now we're going to go with a darker color. And I wanted to go with olive green. Olive green is dark. So if you are wanting more of a purpley, lighter green look, you could go with moss green. And I really like moss green, but I think the olive green is going to work better with the emerald green. So we're going to go with olive green. And this time I'm going to add just some little splotches of line, and then I'm just going to kind of, this is Brusho itself. This is just such a leap of faith. Like, just have faith that it's going to turn out. And if it doesn't turn out, like I said, I say this all the time to my kids, to my students, it's okay. It's a process. It's a learning process. And the more you play with your brushes and your colors, the more you're going to learn from it. And so you can already see the depth that you are getting just from adding a tiny bit of, I'm going to have to go in and add a little bit more here. But I think this works out very well. I am using a 6 liner, so like a script brush for this. If you are super detail oriented, you might want to go with a little smaller one, like an O liner. But I'm also realizing that this is a card, a Christmas card that will brighten someone's day, hopefully their season. But I'm not expecting them to, like, I would love for them to frame it, but if they don't, I'm not gonna waste all that time. This is really just for me to enjoy, and then the process of giving this away is like an added benefit. I hope that makes sense. Creativity is meant to be shared, right? And I'm just, wherever I think needs, now I really don't love, I'm not gonna add too much. I want to suggest that there's this pine needle coming, and now I think that would be perfect to crop right down there with a sentiment right here. And I love this yellow that goes with it. I think I might add, I know I had some black on my palette, and the black has a lot of green in it, so I could just add some of that definition that I didn't get with the olive green. There, I love that. Doesn't that look beautiful? And then same thing here. I really love this color blending right here, so I'm going to be very careful to not add too much. But I don't want to, I think it needs just a little bit more contrast, and I'm actually going to blend that black in with the green so I get this rich green color. And I'm really using a dry brush, and that's how I'm getting that texture. Isn't that pretty? And I'm going to do a little bit over here, I think right in here and a little bit in here. We'll see. And I'm going to wet my brush a little bit. It was getting a little too dry, and now this is probably just a little bit more fluid than up here, but I'm okay with that because it's still wet over here. And I'm adding just a little bit of darkness. I'm just adding like a little tiny bit, and it's still wet, so it's going to just blend in. It's not going to look too much, but it's just a flicking motion with my wrist. I'm using my fingers to do my flicking motion. I could use my wrist, but I want more control, so I'm just like using my my pincer grasp and using it to flick. I hope that makes sense. Do whatever works. I've seen some people rest their pinky and then do that. I find that really annoying, so I don't, but you could. It's whatever feels right to you. And then I am going with the line. I don't want to go off one way. I've already established these lines right here, so that's what I'm trying to continue. I'm just adding depth to those lines so they look like pine needles. But I don't want to add too much too fast. I like to get in, get out. You can tell the difference between this this side and this side. This side looks so much lighter than this side, and this really looks beautiful. Now I think what I will do is, because it's Christmas and I love Christmas, I have starry colors. They're iridescent iridescent watercolor paint. Golden makes some. You could use Sprinkle It Gold, and we can try it. I'll just sprinkle some on my palette. What I want to do is just add a little bit of gold to the pine needles. The problem with the Sprinkle It is it's a little bit different. Like, it doesn't give me that rich gold that I want. It'll work, it'll just be very faint. But I'm okay. And again, I'm following the lines. I don't want to change up the line quality. Yeah, the sprinkle, it actually does work pretty good. And again, I wanted that to be very loose. So there we go. I think we have one half panel done. And I'll cut that down and make it sentiment or something, but we'll go over here and we do the same thing. And then you can cut it down and make it sentiment, or you could even just cut it down to size a little bit and not need a sentiment. I think either way is fine. Okay. So just in case you wanted to, isn't that just gorgeous? I just think those pine needles with the Brusho is so pretty. Okay. Sometimes I have to think and just reevaluate kind of what I want to do. So this kind of just happened, and I don't mind it, but I think I'm going to change it up just a tiny bit, which I can because this is such a light layer. And then I'm doing the same. With the second layer, you really have to kind of know your vision, know what you want to do, and then just do it. That might be more than enough, but I can start here and then work my way down, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, and I think I'm going to just blot some of that up and then just start painting here. Now, if there's white space, I'm going to leave that white space because the white space is giving me that added value that I'm looking for, that loose added painterly value that I'm looking for. So I'm going to be very careful to keep the whites white at this point. And if you're feeling a little anxious about this, just walk away and come back. Don't overwork, which is easy to do. It's easy to overwork, so don't overwork. Just say, okay, I got a good first layer. I'm gonna step back because I don't want to ruin my freshness of the look. Wow, yeah. See, and I did not necessarily want that line, but that's okay. I'll be okay. And I'm not using the right paintbrush. This is a size 8 round, and it's okay, but I much prefer the liner, or the, this is a liner brush or a rigger. See the difference between the lines? It just makes my heart happy. Look at all that color right there. Oh, doesn't Brusho just make your heart happy? It does for me. Now again, I'm trying really hard to be in and out. My plan is really, the whole point of this is to have fun and to make it your own. Make it your own expressive piece of artwork. And that's what I'm trying to do. Alright, let's go to this one, and I just kind of have this like, I don't know, V sort of shape, but I'm gonna just add some water, get my olive green started. I think olive green is such a pretty color for pine needles. I think because it has all the really rich greens and blues, you can really just have fun. I'm gonna take some of that and add it over here. And again, this is a pretty dry brush at this point. Oh, that's looking really neat. Again, I'm watching out for my white space. I really want to hold on to that white space if I can. And I changed my mind. I just want this one to be and I don't want to go into this because I think that the composition would just kind of be funny. So, you know, sometimes you look at a pine needle and the other side is just barely peeking through. That's the suggestion that I'm giving. I don't think it has to be perfect, but you just have to be able to I don't want to say fake it till you make it, because that's not what I'm doing here, but I am saying, hey, this is going to be just a suggestive. Yeah. All right, now I'm going into my dark, my black and my green. I have this, you can kind of see, I have my black here and my green here, and I'm just mixing the in between the two. So I'm getting this dark green color that I really like, and I'm going to add that depth to it. And I don't want to do it all. And I really like this blue color right here, so I'm going to just go around and enhance that color. Hopefully that makes sense, and add a little bit of depth, but not too much. A little bit of texture. This is a very textural piece. Again, I'm looking out for my whites, as I want the white and the greens, the light with the darker contrast really adds to the belief that there's this light coming through the pine trees, pine needles, and it gives it some extra added texture. So brushos are so fun to play with. There, I still have all that texture that brushos give you, but we've used it in such a way where we can really make a beautiful card. So now all I have to do is add some more of this gold, sprinkle it to the little bit of the pine needles, and we have a beautiful card to send to somebody. And again, I don't want to, my goal here is to just give it a touch of gold. I don't want to go crazy with my gold. I want someone to look at it and think, oh, how pretty. Oh, there's some sparkle to it. That's my goal. That's the reason why I'm using the sprinkle it. And I just use it as a paint. It's on my brush. You can kind of see the gold. You could probably sprinkle it on, but I think when you use it as a paint, it's really pretty. Now, if you don't have sprinkle it, you can also use like starry colors. Any kind of iridescent gold would be fantastic. There, I think just a tiny little bit. Yeah, this is like my favorite part is using the iridescent paints, because it's just so fun. And now I think sometimes I like to turn it around and then see, okay, what do I need more of? And I think you could crop it here and here and get 2 card panels, and that was my goal. My goal to begin with was to get 2 card panels, and I think I've got it. There's some extra Brusho right here that I think I just want to add to that painterly look, but I can be very strategic with it. Make it look very much loose and fluid, which is what I want. And then I can also tip my paper down. I'm always happy to see how that turns out. Ah, I love it. Okay. It's always that little extra, and I think sometimes just adding a little bit more water to the edge so it's not so stark white really adds to the mood, the atmospheric look of watercolor. So don't ever be afraid to just kind of add a simple wash at the end. I think it always adds to it. Sometimes I forget to do that, but anyways. And sometimes take that risk. I would say when you are finally feeling pretty confident in your watercolor abilities, your risk, the risk outweighs the the benefit of not doing it. Yeah, I like that. There we go. All right, I got a painterly piece right here. Now, you could make this into like an art journal piece or even just a beautiful piece, and if you if you have a favorite Christmas quote, you could write on it, or you could find a stamp. Lots of companies have sentiments of stamp sentiments that you could just stamp right here, and I think this would be beautiful to just frame in and of itself. But for the purpose of my demonstration, I need Christmas cards to send out, so I'm going to cut this to 2 pieces and put probably just a simple Merry Christmas, or you know, warmest wishes in the holiday season or something. Yeah. And of course I can't leave well enough alone, so this, because I added that extra wash, I'm feeling like the needles are kind of getting lost. So I'm going to re-add those needles, and now it's going to look very blurred, but that's okay. I just still want the hint of it. I want it to look like it's just faded in the background. I think just a little bit of that will do it. My needles are always darker in the stem part, and then they kind of branch out and become lighter because it's not as dense. So that's the plan with this one. But really, there we go. Alright, I'm calling that one done. I'm not messing with it. I hope this was a fun tutorial for you to watch. I hope that you give this one a try. It's really fun. You can do this with lots of different ways. Basically, we painted leaves, but I find this very fun, and I can't wait to make some cards out of them. So enjoy, practice a couple of these, not on a card panel, or practice, and it's a loose painting anyway, so as long as you get the suggestion that it's pine boughs, pine needles, you're in good shape. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.